political heavyweights join us now. Ironically, they're both very thin in a good way. On the screen in one corner, the Washington Post chief correspondent, Dan Balz, and here in another corner here in our studio, the host of CBS Face the Nation, John Dickerson. He's got a new book out that we're going to talk about in the next segment. It's called Whistle Stop, My Favorite Stories from Presidential Campaign History. We will get to that, but John, let's start with today's news. It's common to say something happened with Donald Trump. It's the biggest, it's unprecedented, never happened. Today, with both President Obama going after him and his statements about Paul Ryan and John McCain, you ever seen anything like this in a general election?
I can't think of it. I mean, the president's been saying unfit, been trying to drive this wedge between Obama and the Republicans. Obama and conservatives, has been trying to draw these wedges as he did in his convention speech. But then basically Donald Trump is fighting a two-front war between his own party and the president, all related to this question of temperament. Is he fit for the job? Which you could say is a trap the Democrats set for him, except that when you talk to the Trump campaign, they say the key threshold is whether people will see that he has the temperament and judgment for the job.
Right. Dan, you know Paul Ryan and John McCain pretty well. How do you think they're going to react to Donald Trump unwillingness to endorse them in the month of their contested primaries?
Mark, privately, they have to be furious about it. Publicly, I have no idea how they're going to do it, because they have managed over the course of several months to try to put some distance between themselves and things that Donald Trump has said and done without actually repudiating him outright. And so I think he's put him in a terrible position, and I'm frankly curious to know how they are going to respond.
Dan, don't you think you make this point, they've repudiated him at various times but not withdrawn their endorsement. Isn't the obvious next step here that they are going to have to doesn't it feel like Trump is daring them in some ways to just abandon him completely and withdraw their endorsements?
Well, in some way or another, he seems to be doing that, although I'm not sure that that's exactly what he's doing. I think he's baiting them a little bit. I think he's taunting them a little bit. But I don't know whether that's his ultimate goal, to force them to repudiate him. I'm not sure that serves him in any specific way to try to win the presidency. But he's a person that you're either with him or he's against you. Yeah. and we've seen another example of that today.
The Khan controversy, everyone agrees, is kind of different, maybe, qualitatively from other past controversies. It has now opened the door to discussions of Donald Trump's military non-service. The discussion today about when he wore the guy's Purple Heart. How long-term dangerous do you think the Khan issue and all the doors it's opening are to Trump?
Well, I think dangerous in this sense, which is that Republicans have been concerned about the volatility of Donald Trump and the unpredictability in a political context ever since he came on the scene. When he picked Mike Pence, the thing that Republicans were saying to me at the convention, they kept using the word stabilize. And that was they were worried about this volatility and Mike Pence was going to stabilize him. There is no stability. And the Khan controversy and then the controversies that attach to it and the kind of you're all over the map feeling, the number of days to the election are counting down. So you got to get things in line for the presidential, but also for their futures, for their campaigns. Now they're all having to respond to the daily explosions, and that's what worries Republicans.
You've had a top aide to Chris Christie, a top aide to Jeb Bush, and now a retiring Republican congressman all say they're going to vote for Hillary Clinton and not for Donald Trump. Is that open the floodgates, or do you think most everybody else will stand in place?
I don't think it opens the floodgates. Oh, sorry, Dan.
John first and then Dan.
I don't think it opens the floodgates. Okay. I think what it does is it gives those Republicans who were curious about, who were worried about Donald Trump, it represents their feeling. I mean, regular voters. I don't think they're looking at what Sally Bradshaw does down in Florida, the Jeb Bush staffer, but I think it's representative of a feeling we see in the larger electorate with those college-educated white voters that he's having such trouble.
And Dan, before you answer, I just want to clarify. Sally Bradshaw said she'd only vote for Hillary Clinton if the race in Florida was close, but she's not voting for Trump.
Right. Well, here's the way one could think about this, which is that these are people who are part of the political establishment, the political elite, if you will. They've been in high campaign positions for other Republicans who tried to take Donald Trump down. Trump's path to the presidency, put aside the electoral map question and the geographic path, Trump's path to the presidency is to rally an anti-establishment electorate in this country to make it as big and as boisterous as he possibly can. And so every time he kind of, pokes the establishment in the eye, as he has been doing, conceivably helps him try to do that. I'm not convinced that that's the case, but he, I think he knows kind of what he is trying to do and where his constituency is, and his constituency is not that of the party elites or the party regulars.
So there's no doubt that Dan is right and that Trump is rallying an anti-establishment electorate. Does the electorate look at the military as part of the establishment? Because one of the most striking things in the last few days has been these retired military officers and others coming forward and denouncing Trump for the Khan controversy. And we all know people who are in the military, out of the military, foreign policy people who right now are never going to vote for Trump. The only question is how public they're going to be, or are they going to vote for Clinton?
Right. I think it gets back to this is too dangerous to be president problem that for him. And that's something that the Clinton people were going to talk about regardless. And he's just giving evidence to that argument. And when military officials speak, or former military, they speak with a weight, and they are outside of the political system. And I think that's a charismatic voice in this conversation that's not just left or right.
Dan, let me ask you this. Lots going wrong with the Trump campaign right now, according to Republicans, Democrats, journalists alike. Is there anything going on with the Trump campaign right now that's not getting sufficient attention, that's going well?
Not that is very visible at this point. There's nothing that we can see that would suggest things are going well. I mean, Donald Trump is still the captain of the ship, and he's steering it in the directions he wants to go. I mean, he had an opportunity, given the lousy growth numbers that came out on Friday, to begin to kind of trample on Hillary Clinton's convention and to suppress her bounce. He chose to do just the opposite, which is to help her over the last several days, and he continues to do that. And now, in this interview that he did with Phil Rucker this afternoon, roiling up his own party to cause further controversy. So I would say at this point, it's not clear that there's anything essential that's going right in his campaign.